Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
So our history together, our efforts together, at their best, speak to a common set of values. Values of pluralism and tolerance, the values of openness and the rule of law, a liberal market-based order that places the primacy on our individual rights, including the freedoms of speech and religion and assembly, and relevant to this session, freedom of the press, along with the commitment to the dignity and human rights of all people. Prime Minister Modi and I met an unprecedented 9 times because all of the key challenges we face will be easier to achieve if India continues to play a larger role, not just in the Asia-Pacific region, but on the world stage. The thing is, we know that economies don't work as well when only a few prosper, and the middle class and people who are working hard to get into the middle class are neglected. We can't unwind globalization and the global supply chain. We shouldn't want to. We can't pretend that automation doesn't exist, but we can invest in our people and their skills and their education and the capacity for them to start their own businesses. If India and the United States are working together, I believe there is no problem we cannot solve.
President Obama, you began your answer very interestingly, and I want to pick up on it. You said this message that everyone has the right to practice the faith of their choice, and nowhere is it more important than India, is a message you've given not just publicly to the world, but privately to Mr. Modi. And I want to ask you, what was his response? How did he take the message? And I'll pause a moment and tell you why I asked, so you can answer both halves of the question together. You're aware that the Western press increasingly in the last 3 years, particularly since your speech in 2015, have been portraying India as a country where intolerance is growing. They talk about beef bans, they talk about cow vigilante lynchings, they talk about love jihads. So when you gave this message in private to the Prime Minister, there are many here who'd be keen to know, what was his response?
Well, he's a very good journalist. I think it's fair to say that my goal here is not to disclose every private conversation that I have with other leaders, but I think his impulses are to recognize the importance of Indian unity. I know that he firmly believes in the need for that in order to advance to the great nation status that India possesses and will continue, I think, to amplify in years to come. But as I said before, I think it's very important to understand this is the work of all of us. Yeah, one of the things that I say in my farewell address in the United States is that the most important office in a democracy is not the office of president or prime minister or governor or mayor. It's the office of citizen. Because by definition, each of us have a responsibility in order to make our democracy work. And I think that obviously those of us, like myself when I was president, even post-presidency, Prime Minister Modi, others, our voices have more reach, and we have an obligation to deliver these messages. But it's the task of all of us to reinforce it. One thing I will say about politicians as a general rule, this is not directed at any, because I know there's some in the audience who are, I'm sure, outstanding public servants. So this is directed at me, it's directed at every elected official. Rarely do elected officials get out too far ahead of public opinion. And so if you see a politician doing things that are questionable, one of the things, if you're a citizen, is to ask yourself, am I encouraging or supporting or giving license to the values that I'm hearing out of the politician? Because, frankly, politicians tend to be more of a mirror and more a reflection of forces in the society. Every once in a while, they get out ahead and actually lead, but oftentimes they're reflecting. And so if communities across India are saying we're not going to fall prey to division, then that will strengthen the hand of those politicians who feel the same way.